Let's look at some types of fatty acids. First, essential fatty acids. These must be consumed as part of our diet. Body doesn't make them. Non-essential fatty acids. These are fatty acids that our bodies can synthesize. Saturated fatty acids possess a single bond. These are usually solid at room temperature, and they're found in meat and dairy products. Unsaturated fatty acids. These have double bonds. They're usually liquid at room temperature, and these are found in seed oils, vegetable oils, and nuts. Monounsaturated fatty acids have one double bond. Polyunsaturated fatty acids, PUFAs, there are two double bonds, and these are cis and trans bonds. Essential fatty acid, omega-6, linoleic acid, is very high in vegetable oils. Essential fatty acid, omega-3, or alpha-linolenic acid, it's very high in oily wild-caught fish, also in fermented forage meats of the omega-balanced natural meats, which we produce, and grass-fed beef. If saturated fats were the problem, mankind would not have existed for thousands upon thousands of years without degenerative diseases. However, with polyunsaturated fats, degenerative diseases showed up within 20 years, and at this rate of increasing degenerative diseases, mankind will not likely exist for more than 200 years on this type of diet. Lowering the dietary ratios of omega-6 suppress disease. At a ratio of 10 to 1, it has adverse consequences on patients having asthma. At a ratio of 5 to 1, shows beneficial effects on patients with asthma. A ratio of 4 to 1 was associated with a 70% decrease in total mortality. Also, 4 to 1 appears to be an optimal ratio for brain-mediated functions. And also 4 to 1 associated with a 70% decrease in cardiovascular mortality. At 2.5 to 1, there was a reduction in rectal cell proliferation in colorectal cancer patients, whereas 4 to 1 had no positive effect. At 2 to 3 to 1, there was a suppressed inflammation in patients with rheumatoid arthritis. And of course, the healthiest balance that we want to try to achieve in our diets is a ratio of 1 to 1. How we went from a healthy fat balance to a very unhealthy fat balance. So when you look at pre-1900, essentially our fats were derived from animal fats, butter, lard, tallow, and we had a very low polyunsaturated fat dietary intake, less than 1% of our calories. And because of the sources of our meats and proteins, the omega-6s and omega-3s were in a balanced ratio of typically 1 to 1, but not more than 2 to 1. This, for millenniums, has been a very healthy, life-sustaining ratio that did not cause or produce degenerative diseases. However, today, we have substituted the majority of our stable, non-oxidizing, saturated and monosaturated fats with an increased proportion of omega-6 essential fatty acids, which are highly oxidative and disease-promoting. These now are in excess of 30% of our dietary calories, whereas before they were less than 1%. We still retain the 1% or less omega-3 antioxidants, but now we have a massive increase of approximately 20 to 25 to 1 of omega-6s. These are highly oxidative and disease-promoting. They are not stable fats. It is so critically important that we get the right fatty acids in our bodies, in our cell membranes to support our metabolic system and functions. The right fats are absolutely critical in our cell structure. Fats form the layers and bilayers and the membranes of our cells. The right fats in balanced ratio are critical for the intercellular components. These are the organelles and the structures in the membranes of their components within the cell. These proper fats are critical for the organelles' functions and processes. Fats are also used for fuel for the mitochondria and energy production. Every cell in our body, which makes up every organ in our body, which contains our entire metabolic system, requires mostly fatty acids. Fats influence everything. Everything from structure to function to energy production and cellular signaling. When we alter or substitute the materials that make up the various components of our cells and organelle within our cells, we compromise the structural support and the maintenance of our cells. When our structure breaks down and our cells cannot function properly and become inflamed in a constant state of damage, this leads to aging and premature cell death followed by disease. This is the best recording that we could find that would illustrate your mitochondria constructed with excessive omega-6 essential fatty acids. There is no possible way at the rate of cellular oxidation and breakdown that our cells can remain viable and function properly. When we alter the vital fatty acid components in our cells, which are responsible for driving these cellular operations and processes such as signaling molecules and cell response and other chemical reactions, our cells do not function properly, and thus critical operations that sustain our health are lost, and the genetic design and the potential of the cell is severely compromised. We have been told that inflammation is the cause of all disease. However, inflammation is a protective innate immune system response, and its properties are for healing. If a cell or a tissue requires healing, then damage must precede inflammation. Oxidative damage is the primary factor in damaging our cells, where inflammation follows as a corrective response. Section Summary 6. Ancestral diets were composed of very stable saturated fats with little to no degenerative disease. Today, a large portion of our dietary fats are polyunsaturated fatty acids with far too many omega-6s than omega-3s. The higher ratios of omega-6 in our diet lead to more oxidation and adds to the disease factor. Our dietary fats play a crucial role in our cell structure and function. If we build our cells and mitochondria with fats that are highly oxidative and inflammatory, we will have a lot of cellular breakdown and damage. Our cellular metabolism is vital to all bodily functions, such as our energy production and our cellular signaling. If we load these systems with oxidative toxins and poisons, it will only lead to more damage and more degenerative diseases.